Hello everyone, welcome to Options with Doug, streaming live daily on Bookmap Discord and the Bookmap YouTube channel at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Before I get started, I need to go through the disclosures. General disclosure: all Bookmap Ltd materials, information, and presentations are for educational purposes only and should not be considered specific investment advice nor recommendations. Risk disclosure: trading futures, equities, and options involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Here's my contact information. The best way to get in touch with me is through Discord. My name on Discord is Doug P. Also in Bookmap Discord, there's an Options-Doug chat channel. That is a great place to post questions, comments, and content related to the topics of my presentation and the topics of the channel that I'll go through in just a moment. And for those of you who are not on Bookmap Discord, it is free and available to everyone. There's a lot of great content there, including my channel, of course. Content focused on a wide variety of topics in a variety of languages. And I'm also on X, formerly known as Twitter. My name there is @DougPless. The focus of my presentation and the focus of the Options-Doug chat channel is options, order flow, the impact of options markets on stocks and futures, and the influence of market maker hedging flow on price action. I have a two-step process for trading, and the first is planning, and I use positional analysis. I look at how traders and market makers are positioned in the options market and how those positions change from day to day to develop a thesis regarding the expected trading range and volatility for the day, as well as a directional bias. And the second step of my process is execution. I look at real-time order flow in Bookmap and real-time market maker hedging flow in Spotgamma Hero to confirm my thesis, and for setups for entries and exits. And when I talk about setups today, I will be talking about an underlying asset. And setups can be taken any number of ways. For example, the S&P 500 setups can be taken with ES futures, SPY shares, SPY options, SPX options, or even ES options. Questions and comments are welcome, and I will be watching both the Options-Doug chat channel in Discord as well as the chat in YouTube for your questions and comments, so please feel free to post. And let me take a look at questions. Hello, Derek. I'll get to your question in just a few minutes. Hello, Don. Welcome. Glad you're here. Hello, TK. And Subusio, I'm sorry for pronouncing that wrong, I'm sure. I don't understand what that means. All right, Derek, again, I'll get to your question a little bit later when we take a look at setups. All right, so Derek, Don, TK, Subusio, welcome. Glad you're here. All right, here's my agenda for today, Friday, October 27th. The first thing that I want to cover is news items, economic data, events. Economic data, events, and earnings. Then I'll go through my positional analysis. Then I'll review some setups. So TK, if you could give me a time frame on that. I have a couple setups that I want to take a look at when I get to the setup review. So give me a time in terms of Eastern time, and I'll take a look at that. And then we'll get to the live market. And when I get to the live market, if anyone has any stocks they want me to take a look at, please let me know, and I'll be glad to do that. All right, let's start with economic data, events, news, earnings. So for today, PCE data came out. Let's just take a look at, let's go to Bookmap now. PCE data came out 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. Really not much of a market mover. Here's 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Slight bullish reaction to the PCE data. Came in line. Consumer spending was also greater than expected and greater than previous. Then at 10 a.m., consumer sentiment came out. That was also greater than expected and greater than previous. And also an initial bullish reaction to that data. All right, then yesterday, Amazon reported earnings after the market closed, and so far earlier today the reaction was bullish for Amazon. Investors, traders liked what they heard with Amazon earnings. All right, so that was the data for today, wrapping up the week. And then next week, there are a couple of very big events. First of all, the FOMC meeting and announcement, 2 p.m. on Wednesday. That will be midway through my session. All right, the next is on Friday next week, the jobs report. So FOMC meeting on Wednesday and Friday, jobs report next week. So I'll cover that in more detail next week. All right, let's take a look at positional analysis now. This is the ES futures in Bookmap. And before I take a closer look at this chart, I want to take a look at a larger time frame. I'm going to go to an SPX chart. This is the 30-day 1-hour chart for SPX. And note I have zoomed in a little bit. The call wall moved up to 4,800, which is way out of play, and so it was showing way up here and obscuring the data that I want to take a look at today. All right, so this is the SPX, again, 30-day 1-hour chart. Let me point out a couple of key turning points. So I had been talking about the September 15th call dominated expiration that is off of this chart, and that as those calls expired that were stabilizing the market, that's when the downtrend began. And then this is the October 6th jobs report. Gamma squeeze after that, and then the SPX ran into resistance at the upper weekly expected move last week, and then now started moving lower with geopolitical events and the rise in the quick rise in the Treasury yields. This is last Friday, October 20th expiration, put dominated negative gamma. I was expecting a put banner rally. That did not turn out. I guess the Treasury yields and geopolitical events were just too much. All right, so the downtrend that lasted a couple of days, Monday and Tuesday, and now the downtrend continues. All right, let me point out some levels on this chart. First of all, the lower and upper weekly expected move, shown with the dashed purple lines. And that's the lower and upper weekly expected move that changes once a week. That's based on the options market. Note that SPX is trading below the lower weekly expected move. It has been trading around that level for several days this week, and it finally broke lower today. Then the dashed blue line showing the lower and upper daily expected move. So far, SPX is above the lower daily expected move. All right, let's take a look at the Spotgamma levels on this chart. I'm going to point out the key daily levels. So first of all, 4,000 is the absolute gamma strike. That's the strike with the largest absolute negative and positive gamma. That is quite a large strike where most of the open interest, gamma weighted open interest is concentrated, and there's quite a bit of open interest at that level, and that will only increase as price moves down to the, I guess this gamma will increase as price moves down toward that level and expiration approaches. So that is, if price continues to move down, that 4,000 level should become even more significant. All right, the next level up is the put wall at 4,100. That's a strike with the largest net negative gamma that can be expected to act as support. Note that level did move lower from yesterday, from 4,200 to 4,100, and that is bearish, moving that potential floor for price lower. The next level up is the volatility trigger, way up here at 4,300. That is Spotgamma's proprietary gamma flip level. Below that level, market makers' position on the gamma curve is negative. In a negative gamma environment, market makers have to trade with price to hedge their delta exposure, and that tends to enhance or increase volatility. And note that SPX is trading well below its volatility trigger in a very negative gamma environment. All right, then, as I mentioned before, the call wall is up at 4,800. Quite a large shift, move up from yesterday from 4,500 to 4,800, and well out of play for today. So the key levels, key daily levels in play, first of all, the put wall at 4,100, and then the large absolute gamma strike at 4,000 below that, and then the volatility trigger at 4,300. All right, let's take a look at the closer look at a 1 day, 1 minute chart, just to see the levels that are closer look at the levels in play for today. Going to zoom in just a little bit so we can see the put wall and the lower daily expected move right there at 4,100. Here's the lower weekly expected move. And again, as I pointed out on the previous chart, SPX has struggled, moved up and down around that level for several days now, and now is trading below that level. All right, let's go back to Bookmap now. Let me point out the levels in play for today. The key level is the 410. This is the SPY 410 absolute gamma strike put wall. And that is the, for SPY, that is the potential floor. Note that level moved lower yesterday. So the SPY put wall moved lower yesterday, and the SPX put wall moved lower today, down closer to the same levels. So far that today, this 4111 support, that is SPX 4111 support level, as well as the SPY 410 absolute gamma strike, seems to be holding as support. And I'll talk about these setups. So TK, I think this is the setup that you're talking about right here, right around 1117, and I'll talk about that for sure. And hello, Owen, welcome, glad you're here. All right, so I have two setups that I want to talk about in a few minutes, and right now I'm pointing out the levels in play for today. So this setup occurred, again, I'll talk about it in more detail in a few minutes, at SPY 412 and the ES 4150 level. So before I talk about these levels more, let me point out that I'm using my own cloud notes here. So I can combine SPX levels and SPY levels into one column and then draw the lines on the chart. I use an add-on to do that. So I can show all this information in one column, round numbers, spot gamma levels, Also round numbers for ES. And then here's the lower weekly expected move with this purple line. You can't really see the label, but it's there with a dashed purple line. So I'm showing all those levels in one column, my own cloud notes. Note there is a difference in price between ES and SPX. And earlier today it was closer to 20, and right now it is closer to 19. Hovering around plus or minus 19. And again, earlier today I used 20, but 19 might be better this afternoon. All right, so ES minus SPX, 19 right now. I'd used ES minus SPX equal 20. All right, let's take a look at NASDAQ now. So here, these are NQ. This is the NQ futures and Bookmap. And let me check on one thing here. So the QQQ 345 level is in play for today. So let's go take a look at a QQQ chart. So far acting as support, and that is a large gamma 3 level, and the ranking of the levels is 1 to 5, 1 being the most important and 5 being the least important. So 3 and L3 is in the middle of that range, but around that level acting as support. So this is a 1-day 1-minute chart for QQQ, showing the potential support at the QQQ 345 level. All right, let's take a look at NDX. This is 2 days of data for NDX. And for NDX, this is a pretty narrow range, especially given the current negative gamma environment. So NDX trading in between these two combo levels. Let's go back to NQ Futures and Bookmap now. So the key level in play is this 345 level. And again, I'll take a look at setups in a few minutes. The chart is very similar to the S&P 500. All right, shifts in levels. For the S&P 500, put wall shifted lower. That's most significant. Call wall did shift higher, well out of play. For SPY, the volatility trigger shifted lower, and the call wall also shifted higher to 460, well out of play, and then the absolute gamma strike shifted lower to 410. So for SPY, the most significant level of gamma weighted open interest is at 410. You can see that is the absolute gamma strike and put wall. And then for SPX, the 4,000 level is the most significant, although 4,100 remains the put wall. All right, for Q, there were no shifts in levels for NDX, and then for QQQ, the only shift lower was the put wall from 350 to 340. So that potential floor for price for QQQ shifted lower. All right, let's take a look at gamma notional now to see how market makers were positioned on the gamma curve at the beginning of the day. This is what I'm looking at, gamma notional for SPX, SPY, NDX, QQQ, the RUT, Russell 2000 Index, and IWM. Note these numbers are quite negative. And the numbers all in the billions, negative 1.459 billion, for example, for SPX, quite negative. Also for SPY, QQQ, and IWM. So what this means is traders are long puts, market makers are short puts, and in this very negative gamma environment, they have to trade with price to hedge their delta exposure. So let's take a look at the Vanna model and see what this means. All right, so this is the SPX Vanna model. I'm going to zoom in on this chart. The vertical axis here is showing market makers' delta notion of their delta exposure. And the horizontal axis is showing price. There are two curves on this chart. The light gray curve shows how market makers' delta notional will change with changes in price only. And then the purple curve adds implied volatility to the equation. That shows how market makers' delta notional will change with changes in time, changes in price, and implied volatility. And that change in delta with a change in implied volatility is the Vanna model, is the Vanna effect. Vanna is a second order Greek, so again that's indicating how delta will change with changes in implied volatility. So the purple curve is what we look at. So let's see where, do a quick check on SPX again. So trading right around 41.18. So well up on the steep portion of the curve here, somewhere between these two lines. So what this is showing, as price has been dropping today, market makers' delta notional increases, and they have to sell futures to hedge their delta exposure. So price is falling, implied volatility increasing, market makers' delta notional is increasing, and they have to sell futures to hedge their delta exposure. And this works both ways. If price rallies, implied volatility drops. Market makers can buy back short futures. That's a put Vanna rally. Certainly not happening today. All right, so that's SPX. Let's take a look. Take a look at SPY. Similar curve, SPY trading right around 410.5, just above the put wall. Right around here on this very steep portion of the Vanna model, indicating market makers will have to trade aggressively with price in both directions. Let's check QQQ. QQQ trading right around 345. That large gamma 3 level, there's QQQ right there, again on the very steep portion of this curve, indicating market makers have to trade aggressively with price to hedge their delta exposure. And the gamma notional for all of these indices did shift lower, or for actually for IWM it's shifted slightly higher, but for the S&P 500 and QQQ shifted lower, more negative than yesterday. All right, so my thesis for the day was, first of all, looking for higher volatility. There was the Spotgamma AM Founders Note was quite informative today. For those of you who do not have a Spotgamma subscription, they do offer a free 7-day trial. Definitely worth it, if nothing else than to read the AM Founders Note today. All right, so this is the one little clip from the AM Founders Note, somewhat of a summary. So this is saying, therefore, through Wednesday, that's next Wednesday, the FOMC meeting and announcement, they're anticipating trading action look like the last few days, very fast mean reverting price action. So that will come into play. There was a question about I did post a setup earlier today, the bullish setup, long setup, as traders started buying SPX SPY calls and stop buying puts. And this will play into that setup, having this thesis in mind with a looking for mean reverting price action, fast action in a very negative gamma environment. All right, let's take a look at some setups now. So I'm going to start with the S&P 500. And what this chart is showing is the hero signal, hedging impact real-time options. This is from Spotgamma, available to Spotgamma subscribers. There are two lines on this chart. The first, the white line, is price for SPX, and the purple line is the hero signal, again, hedging impact real-time options. That's showing options trades and market maker hedging activity for a combined signal for SPX, SPY, XSP, and ES futures, all into one combined signal. All right, let's zoom in on this chart. All right, so I'm going to focus on two setups. This long setup and the short setup. And we'll look at the signals in Bookmap as well in a few minutes. So TK, there's the that reversal lower at 1117. I'll talk about that. All right, so first of all, let's take a look at the long setup. And note the options trades the last few days have been more confirming. Sometimes hero will be a leading indicator for price action, and recently it's been more of a confirmation. All right, so and I'm going to do this quickly. I've had some issues with this auto zoom and hero. So what I pointed out in the post that I posted in Discord is traders were buying puts. They stopped buying puts shown by the falling blue line. Then they sold a few puts, then that leveled off, and just around the same time they started buying calls. That's shown by the rising orange line. So they stopped buying puts and started buying calls, and that's when price reversed higher. All right, so that's one confirmation there of a long setup. Let's go to Bookmap. Going to zoom in. All right, so I know that, I'm watching, when I'm trading, I'm watching two screens at the same time. Watching hero on one screen, Bookmap on another screen. So I see simultaneously in Bookmap, in hero, that shift in the hedging flow from bearish to bullish, negative delta to positive delta. Here are a couple levels I anticipate may act as support. Round number levels, they're not Spotgamma levels, but round number levels. And then you see the shift in order flow. So also I know from my thesis I'm looking for fast mean reverting price action in a very negative gamma environment. Stop run down to these levels, that's shown by the falling yellow line there, as well as this small green dot. Then the volume dots, magenta on the way down. the volume dots are showing market buy minus sell. Magenta dots indicate more sellers than buyers. Green dot indicates more buyers than sellers. Those are market orders. So I see on one screen, Hero shifts from negative delta to positive delta. I see in order flow here a stop run down to this level, and then the shift in order flow, that's also shown by cumulative volume delta here, shifting from moving down to moving up. V bottom there. So Neo CTO, this is what I'm looking at. I'm not looking at Hero in a vacuum. I'm looking at Bookmap, looking at Hero. Also, let's take a look at one other thing that's important to look at. This is volatility futures, VX futures, VIX futures. And you can see at right around the same time, VIX futures spike higher, then to start to move lower. So I've got a confluence of all those signals at a potential support level, and price moves higher. So you just can't look at Hero in a vacuum and make any firm decisions. You have to look at Bookmap and look at something in like VIX futures, VX futures, VIX, whichever you prefer to look at. So I'm looking at all of that information. All right, so that's the long setup. Now let's take a look at the short setup. So notice the strong, all these green volume dots as price moves up, rising cumulative volume delta shown by the pink line. Also buy stop orders fuel the move higher. That's shown by the rising yellow line. Also these green dots here. And what's up above here? All of this resting liquidity. The order book, the heat map and Bookmap is showing the history of the limit orders in the order book, as some traders may call that overhead supply. But a lot of traders wanted to get short at that level, so they had limit orders. Also, here's one large iceberg execution, 500 contracts executed. That's shown by that icon up above price, as well as the falling blue line. All right, so those are the clues in Bookmap for the short setup here. Also, note the shift in order flow. Aggressive sellers start to come in. Price makes a lower high, a couple of lower highs. Then breaks below this 414 level. All right, let's go take a look at, go back to Hero now, see what options traders were doing. Sorry about that. All right, so at the same time on my other screen, I see that options traders are starting to take negative delta positions. This is right at that 1117 setup. And let's just see what they were doing. So they continue to buy puts. Actually, the put activity levels off. They start to buy puts again, and they stopped buying calls. Note the orange line levels off there, and price moves lower. So there are the signals in Hero and Bookmap. We can go back to the VIX chart, VX chart. So it really takes a little bit longer for the VIX futures to turn, about 11:30, but they start moving higher as another confirmation. But really the primary confirmation was in Bookmap and Hero here. For the long setup than the short setup. All right, let's go back to Bookmap. So now it looks like the 410 level is not holding. Let's just zoom out and see what's down below. So the lower daily expected move down below, and then this, you can't see the label here, but this white line would be the SPX put wall at 4100. All right, let's take a look at the SPX chart. So there's the put wall aligned pretty closely, actually right on the lower daily expected move. So that is the next level down, and the most likely target for today. All right, let's take a look at NASDAQ. Well, let me check for questions. And hello, past to 2910. All right, so TK asked, ES is now falling toward the 4120 put wall. So I look at the put wall in terms of SPX. So SPX, the put wall is actually at SPX 4100, which is equivalent to around ES 4120. So yeah, the same thing. All right, let's take a look at NASDAQ now. Earlier today, NASDAQ was quite a bit stronger. Now it's broken below the 345 level. All right, let's go take a look at Hero. Actually, while we're on the S&P 500, let's just see what traders are doing in terms of puts and calls. So they have been buying calls. That activity just stopped right around 11:15, 11:20, and they have continued to buy puts all day. Whoops. What I want to take a look at is the 0 DTE versus the all expirations, and focusing really on puts. So this is all expirations, and this is 0 DTE. So this is showing that traders are buying puts that expire further out than today. So the 0 DTE put buyers, that's only making up about 25%, maybe just a little bit more, 25% of the total notional value of puts today. It's mostly longer term puts. All right, so this is showing total signals. So they were buying calls. That activity has stopped, and they continue to buy puts, mostly longer term puts. All right, let's take a look at NASDAQ. Very similar pattern to the S&P 500. Long setup, Then short setup, really the best setup of the day, as it turns out. Confirmed by Hero. All right, let's take a look at Bookmap now. So here's the long setup at 346. And then the short setup, you can see very clearly the shift in order flow. Large magenta volume dot, aggressive sellers coming in. Price moves lower. All right, TK asked, how do I set up the cumulative delta purple indicator on Bookmap? So first of all, cumulative delta is comes with all versions of Bookmap. And let's just go to, I'm right-clicking cumulative volume delta settings. So here you go, here are my settings. I'm using session range, and then I have separate colors for positive and negative. All right, so when the number shifts positive, that is dark blue. When it shifts negative, it is this magenta color. All right, so there you go, TK. All right, let's take a look at some stocks. So first of all, let's take a look at Amazon. Again, Amazon reported earnings after the close yesterday, initial positive reaction. Let's see what options traders were doing. Go to Amazon. So initially in the morning, options traders were taking positive delta positions, shown by the rising purple line there. Note that there are a couple of flow alerts, timely alerts for long. Zoom in on this. So initially traders were buying calls. Then that activity shut off pretty quickly. Stop buying calls. And now it looks like Amazon is kind of giving it up like the rest of the market. And traders have continued to buy puts all day, and so far net for the day notional value for the total is slightly negative, minus 4.75 million negative. And TK, you're welcome. All right, so that's Amazon. After reporting earnings yesterday, a couple of other stocks I wanted to take a look at. First, Google. And this was a nice divergence long. Notice that traders in the morning were taking positive delta positions. And Derek, you're welcome as well. Up until about 12:10, that activity leveled off and price started to move lower. Just as a basic reminder, when traders in a stock take positive delta positions, either buy calls or sell puts, market makers take the opposite side of that, and they have to buy stock to hedge their delta exposure. All right, so that's Google. Another, actually an early alert here. And price reversed around 950 just above the put wall, moved up almost to the 123 call wall. And remember, Google reported earnings earlier this week and was beat up pretty badly after earnings. So let's go take a look at Bookmap. Let's go to Google. So here's that reversal long, hero divergence, just above the 120 put wall. And headed back toward the 123 call wall. All right, let's take a look. One other stock I wanted to take a look at is Microsoft. All right, Microsoft, note that 335 is the call wall, and price overshot that level just a bit. Let's go take a look and see what options traders were doing in Microsoft. Note 330 is the key gamma strike. Price reversed higher around that level. It took a while for options traders to get going. Call wall at 335, acting as resistance. Price does overshoot that level a little bit. So we'll go back and look at Bookmap in just a moment. There were some aggressive buyers coming in, then the call buyers came in a little bit later. So in this case, actually kind of lagging the price action higher. Let's go to, sorry about that, go back to Bookmap. Opening print just above the 330 level, then aggressive buyers come in. Let's take a look at CVD, cumulative volume delta for Microsoft. So initially aggressive buyers moving price higher, just buying stock. Then the options traders come in, start taking positive delta positions. Price moves up above the 335 call wall and now is back down to 330. Note the liquidity at that level that comes in right at the cash open. All right, let me check for questions. And Derek says, Microsoft call wall was a good short. Yes, it was. That is a very good play. Call gamma unwind. And also anticipating that level, acting as resistance. You could have sold a call spread there, bought a put spread, or just sold stock. Good entry point with this trend break, lower high, right below the 335 call wall. There you go. Down, move down for at least 5 points so far in Microsoft. All right, let's check and see how the indices are doing today. Let's go back to the S&P 500 and see if that SPX 4100 level is holding. So it looks like now price is back above the SPY 410 level, absolute gamma strike put wall. Zoom in on this a bit. So there were some buyers at this level. Heat map showing limit buy orders. Interesting, there are some large traders selling down at this level. Note the iceberg orders, sell iceberg orders, and now breaking below the 410 level again. That's kind of unusual behavior for larger traders. Normally they sell strength and buy weakness, but in this case they are, in this case right here, they are selling that move higher. So I guess in a very small time frame they are selling strength, but definitely near the lows of the day. Let's take a look at NASDAQ. So now price is below that 345 level. Let's take a look and see what options traders are doing. Let's take a look at one other signal here. This is the Magnificent Seven. And this shows what large traders are doing in this combined signal, Magnificent Seven. This combines the hero signal for Apple, Amazon, Google, Meta, Microsoft, Nvidia, and Tesla all into one signal, often a very good leading indicator, and traders are taking negative delta positions starting right around 11:15 and then again at 12:15, and they continue to sell large cap tech. And note the notional value for this signal is negative for the day, taking negative delta positions. Again, as they continue to dump large cap tech. NASDAQ signal also moving lower, negative notional value. S&P 500 signal also moving lower, negative notional value. Let's go back to Bookmap. So the slow grind down continues. And all these traders with these limit orders here, right around 41.76, are having a pretty good day. All right, so really the question now is will the 410 level hold, and it certainly does not look like it. Options traders still on the gas on the negative side, and then there's really no sign of buyer so far. So if the 410 breaks, then the next level down is the 41 SPX 4100 put wall level. All right, so Goker asks, what about market maker doing on Magnificent 7? So there, let's go back to Hero. Sorry about that. So in the Magnificent 7, traders are taking negative delta positions. So right around 11:30, they stop buying calls, started buying puts. So when this is in those 7 stocks, so when traders buy puts, market makers sell the puts, and they have to sell stock to hedge their delta exposure. All right, so that's what they're doing in the Magnificent 7, and these 7 stocks are certainly a leading driver of price action in NASDAQ, and as well as the S&P. Let's go back to Bookmap. And Goker, you're welcome. TK asks, could you talk through why the short sellers should have held from 41.76 entries as I exited prematurely? So I want to know how to make a better decision at that time. Well, watch the signals that I'm talking about. Watching Hero, it is just sloping down. I don't see anything in order flow that indicates a reversal. Stops trending down. That's usually a very good directional indicator, as well as CVD. So I'm looking at the yellow line for stops, CVD for the magenta for CVD. So certainly a potential target was this 410 level. And if you held down to there, you most likely caught the bulk of the move. And there are other ways to play that. You could have just bought a put, SPY, SPX put, and held on. So that's, Goker, or TK, that's all I can say there. Trade management is something that you'll have to work out. But just looking in this larger time frame here, zoomed out, I don't see any reason that I would take a long position or exit a short. And it also helps to have a target. Maybe exit at, if you're trading multiple contracts or multiple options, have price targets at different levels. So one potential price target first, the former support level at 41.50. Next at the SPY 410 level. And note there have been some buyers at those levels. You can see from the heat map. Let me just turn that up just a little bit. So it's certainly not as obvious as the sellers up above at 41.76, but there have been some buyers and potentially taking profits. right, Goker, you're welcome. And past 2910 says he's still holding shorts but don't like it. Certainly depending on where you got in, you've had a good day if you're still holding shorts. Nothing wrong with taking a profit. All right, everyone, my time is up. Thank you very much for your questions and comments. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you on Monday. Thanks again. Bye.